Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Existential Lens Podcast. I'm your host, Chantal Peters, and today the conversation that I've been really looking forward to. My guest here is someone who's walked away from the traditional path to forge something a little more aligned with who he is. Anatoly Spektor here started in the corporate world, but over time he made a bold decision to step away from that and pursue his own path. Now he's helping others do the same. He's got his own podcast. Right now, he's speaking from Bali, where he helps to wake up the souls of people through deep conversation. And today, we're just going to explore that journey. So, Anatoly, I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Chantal. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. So, just to get right into it, tell me a little bit about maybe your younger self. What was your life like? I know you told me you grew up in Latvia. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, if not too many people probably who are listening been to Latvia, but
Mm,
Latvia is in Eastern Europe, so it's a very small country, post-Soviet Union. So I was
right.
born, and I think 3 years after Soviet Union collapsed. So complete change. People used to live in communism. It's dictated how people behave a lot.
Hmm.
So communism is a regime where people don't allow to speak freely and express themselves freely. So I guess that left a mark on my parents and my grandparents.
Hmm.
And I mean, when I was growing up, Latvia was, uh, I guess, land of opportunity because now finally people can speak up and do things. It was very, very crazy for the first 10 years because everybody was like the commerce was blooming and the art was blooming. It was very, very good. Yeah, normal upbringing. My parents divorced when I was three. My dad is this big entrepreneur, and my mom also entrepreneur. And essentially, they were very, very busy doing their own stuff. And yeah, I was growing up, and in 2008, when the crisis hit, the Latvia was hit really, really bad because again, it's a small country, very dependent on everybody. And I was like, I feel that there's something else out there. So I moved from Latvia to Canada by myself to study and work. And that was a complete change because Canada has history of being free and open.
Hmm.
And to me, that was very, very interesting. And that led me to, I guess, my professional career. I went to university first. I was studying management. And then at one point, I met a guy who was like, when are you going to finish? Who are you going to manage? And I'm like, I never asked myself that question. That's such a profound question because
Hmm.
managers are people who are really good at what they do. And then they decide to get promoted and start managing other people. I was like, wow, I guess my path might not be as clear. But back in Latvia, because um, I guess my parents didn't allow me too much to go outside and play with kids. So mostly I would sit at home and I would be at my computer, building some websites. And I'm like, what else should I do? So I decided to pursue software development because it was easy for me. And
Hmm.
in Latvia, I was in management school. In Canada, I was the worst student. And in software development, I was the best student. So I
Hmm.
finished with like highest GPA. So I was really, really good. And I got a job right away in a really big company, very big corporate company. I worked there. Then I moved to startups where I worked 90-hour weeks and was like completely crazy. Then at some point, I realized that being an employee is kind of not my jam because I give everything to the company. And then at some point, they would change management or something changes. And then essentially, they would go completely different ways. So I was like, okay, I need to start something myself.
Hmm.
And I realized writing code is kind of easy, at least for me. People who don't write code, maybe it's hard, but for somebody like myself who did it all their life, it's kind of easy. But what didn't work most of the time was managing people and a process. So I started digging really into that. I opened a consultancy around that, and I would help really, really big companies, governments to manage their teams, manage their process. I would fly or do it online, and I would just help them out. And I did that for many years, as well as I still loved programming. So I had a remote programming job as well. So I
Hmm.
kind of balanced two of them. And I thought that was not enough. So I also started other businesses. Like I was in e-commerce for some time, starting agencies just because I really like complicated systems and figuring out the details and makes things easier. And then at some point, I get married, and me and my wife decided that we want to travel around the world. So I had this remote job with software development. So we traveled all around, lived in different countries, and landed in Bali, where there was a big change that you alluded to in your introduction,
Mhm.
where at one point I was still consulting those big corporations. And I remember one night I was sitting in Bali, night like today, it's 2 a.m. here. So I'm sitting in on a call with a bunch of people, a conference call, all wearing suits. I'm sitting like this in Bali, and I tell them what to do, and they all write it all down. And they're like older gentlemen. And I'm like, this is so surreal. Like I would never meet these people in real life. I would never go. I don't know. They probably drink beer. I don't drink. So there's not none of the things connect us. So why am I doing this? And it was like moment when I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. Because if this job goes away, there won't be any friends there. Like I won't build any deep connections in there. This mostly like exchange of money. At the same point, I was also running those e-commerce brands where I would sell toys where I didn't have kids. I would sell supplements. And I'm like, I'm not connected to my customer, to my audience. All this is kind of very, very wrong. And then in Bali, I started also a podcast called Soul to Soul Show, where I would interview people with amazing stories. And I'm like, they don't have as much money as I do, for example, but they're very, very happy. And they kind of lead from the heart. So they have their own purpose. And I'm like, I don't understand what my purpose is. That me get really, really sad for some time because I'm living
Mm.
in a beautiful place. At this point, I have two kids. I'm like, why am I so unhappy? Something doesn't add up. Um, and then essentially, I was like, okay, I guess I need to stop. So I stopped my e-commerce brands, and then for my consulting, I'm like, I stopped working with these clients, and then I decided that I just need to do a shift. So I met my now business partner. We did a training with her. She trains leaders to realize their vision and purpose, which we do right now in our business as well. And I realized that what I do is very good. I'm really good at solving very complicated problems, helping businesses grow. But I just want to help people that I care about, really, really
Mhm.
care, deeply purposeful missions. And that lead us to soul business, what we have now, where we help entrepreneurs to scale and grow that have really deep meaning in what they do. And they're most of them are friends, and I really, really enjoy what I do. So that is in short the whole story.
Wow, that's an incredible story. So going back to that moment where you kind of realized the corporate world wasn't really right for you, was that a really difficult thing to go through, or did it kind of feel like almost like a natural shedding of this thing?
Well, that was very difficult because my identity was tied to that. I had all this ego
Right.
that I worked with these big companies. I was seen as the guy who solves governments and build our companies. They call me when there's no way for them to move forward, and I come and I solve their problems. Like it was
Hmm.
my identity. And as entrepreneurs, I had the podcast at that point where I would interview people who do e-commerce. I had a big
Hmm.
name in e-commerce as well. I did about think 350 episodes of this podcast about
Wow.
business. So I had to let it all go and just say, you know what? I'm just gonna pursue a different path.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And so kind of like it almost seems like the meaning of freedom kind of changed to you in a way. What did it mean to you then and what does it mean to you now, sort of?
The freedom.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I was lucky. Like there's many dimensions of freedom. A lot of
Hmm.
people think about freedom of time.
Hmm.
So I had freedom of time because I had a remote job that I was really good at. I choose my own hours. I can work from anywhere. So freedom of location, freedom of time was there, but still was unhappy, which is
Hmm.
something that other people dream for, living in Bali, making good money, being free, having kids. Uh, but it always from a sense of achieving for a sense of achieving and not from like, what am I actually doing?
Hmm.
So then when I realized that I can change it all up and serve people that I care about, then I had freedom to choose who I work with. And that was very
Hmm.
powerful. And I think this is a next level of freedom where you only spend time with people and actions that you really care about.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Do you think that your upbringing, you said you went from Latvia to Canada, now Bali, Do you think that changed the way you view success and purpose today?
Well, in Latvia, success, it's like, again, it's quite a poor country. So success is very much determined of how much money you have. So
Mm-hmm.
I was raised like that. So
Mm-hmm.
even software development when I was growing up wasn't a profession. Like in Latvia, people go to be economists or lawyers or doctors. Actually, doctors are not paid very well, but lawyers are
Yeah.
and economists are, which is weird that doctors in
Mm-hmm.
Latvia are not paid well. It's like very strange, but it's a different discussion. In Canada, it opened my eyes that I can be whoever I want to. If I want to be a software developer, I'll be a
Mm-hmm.
software developer and I can succeed in that. Back in Bali, I met people who changed my perception of wealth. The wealth is not really how much you have, but wealth is who are the people around you, who you attract, how you spend your days. And that's what you do connects to something bigger than yourself.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And so today you have your own podcast. Tell me a little bit about that. What's the main premise of that?
Yeah, so it's called Soul to Soul Show.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I switched from my business podcast, and it all started very, very slowly. So I had my business podcast, but I would invite people with who are monks or who are
Mm-hmm.
spiritual teachers or people who are breathwork teachers, because Bali has a lot of this eclectic people who escape the world and they do things differently, which is a very interesting point. I'm very say part of the world. So I would invite them and I would have like Bali special in my podcasts where who mostly listened by people in US who do e-commerce. And
Mm-hmm.
not too many people will listen to those episodes, but for me, those was the best ones because I would grow and I would learn. I know quite a lot about business because it's I spent all my life in business. I
Mm-hmm.
can talk about growing, scaling businesses forever, but I don't know a lot about spirituality, for example, or how people find happiness or how people go through deep trauma. And for me, those stories were the most important. At some point, I realized, well, I should just make a podcast just about that. And I started inviting these people. So they're sharing honestly their story that never shared before. And that really moved me, the vulnerability, the deep connection. I became friends with most of them. So to me, that's a way for me to serve. We call it waking up souls,
Mm-hmm.
meaning people like myself who work for the sake of work, for making money. We kind of go through world kind of a little bit of a sleep because we don't really see the purpose. We just do it because everybody else is doing it. And so soul to soul, the goal of it is to say that there's more to life.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good to make a lot of money. And I think Naval Ravikant, who I really like, said it well. If you want to be a philosopher, get rich first because it's way easier to be a rich philosopher. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
So nothing is making money, but there's also different dimensions that you need to explore to be a wholesome human, I guess.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I've seen a couple of your episodes there. It really seemed like you just get everyone. There's so many people of all different walks of life. It's really
Yeah.
incredible. What are some of the things maybe you've learned yourself by asking others these like deep questions?
Yeah. I had some really crazy stories. Like I can't even count how
Hmm.
many craziest stories I had. But one guy was very special. And I shared it before. Like I had this guy come on a podcast and he said, you know what, I can only do in the morning. And I'm like, well,
Hmm.
it's a studio. We book a studio. Like there's 2 slots. I can't do it. He's like, no, no, no.
Hmm.
I can only do it in the morning. I'm like, this is strange, but okay, come in. So he comes, this big, healthy guy, like muscular, good energy, brings me a bunch of gifts. And I'm like, wow, this is very, very, very interesting. And he had this weird, like, asked people to share a bit of a story about themselves. And he shared this weird story how his dad was a busker. So he was like going and doing circus all around. And his mom was this activist and she was raising him to be a gay when he was like 2 years old. And I'm like, this is so
Hmm.
strange. But I'm used to strange. And I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
So he comes in and he shares his story. And then at one point he says that um, what happened to him was that he started having seizures. Like when he was 32, he started
Hmm.
having seizures every day, and there's like childbirth like seizures. The first start for like 10 hours, and then he was able to manage it, and now it's like 4 hours, and he's like passing out and breaking his ribs, like crazy story. And still doing all of this, he built like 2 amazing businesses on the free time where he don't have seizures. He don't have any
Hmm.
personal life. All he does is works and have those seizures. I'm like, wow, this. like this guy struggles so much. Like I cannot
Mhm.
even imagine how much he struggles, and I'm sitting here and feeling sorry about myself, which
Right.
which is completely ridiculous. And he's so healthy and looking, so he's glowing, and I'm like, wow. So stories like that makes me realize how much more I don't know, how much there,
Hmm.
how how much strong we are as humans, and how much we can sustain just because we want to live. And that changed a lot.
Right. Yeah, everybody has their own walk they have to go through. So interviewing all these interesting people, you must be thinking about a lot of like these philosophical things. Do you think everybody kind of has something they're meant to wake up to, or is this awareness more of a rare thing?
It is quite rare, but it's only rare because we close our eyes.
Hmm.
So I think the world is built in a way to keep us distracted. Like if you look at you live in the West, so you know it more than me. Like there's everything distracts you all the time. You have TV, you have
Right.
alcohol, you have work, everything not to look inside of yourself and retrospect. So
Mm.
I think it's very, very hard. And it's getting more and more hard. Like people who connect more, let's say, with nature, they're able to disconnect and sometimes think. People who go away and travel, they can see different perspectives. But most people, A, cannot afford it, and B, just don't have time for that. So that's
Hmm.
why it's very hard to find purpose. But I believe everybody should. And I think it's definitely worth doing to live a fulfilling life, whatever it means.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. Do you think this purpose is something that maybe we find, or it's something we could build throughout ourselves?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think you need to go for a journey, like a
Yeah.
hero's journey to find
Hmm.
purpose. So
Hmm.
if you just say, I want to find my purpose, it's very, very hard. Purpose, I find purpose is best found by doing something else. So you have to do the work and
Hmm.
trust in the work. And if that doesn't work, you have to pivot and do something else. Like if I did not do what I was doing in this corporate jobs and being an employee, and running businesses, I believe I would be way further from my purpose. I'm not saying I'm there
Hmm.
yet, but
Hmm.
I kind of see the signs now where, okay, something's not working. What I'm doing might not be right. And for me, the change is easier now. The more you
Hmm.
change, the easier for you it is to change. So I believe if people take more chances, they will be able to find purpose quicker.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that journey is something that a lot of people could get lost on. Maybe have you yourself been lost on that journey a couple times? Yeah.
Many times. Like I was running this e-commerce business where again I was selling toys without having kids. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, why I was doing it? It was
Hmm.
just to prove that I can do it. Or let's
Hmm.
say I was really good at scaling businesses. And I thought that okay, because I'm good at something, I should just go and do it no matter
Right.
what. But in general, sometimes it's good to sit and think.
Hmm.
What is the end goal? What I'm trying to get? And yeah, I've been lost many times, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be lost many more times. But I
Yeah.
think having awareness is very important. Just retrospection and awareness, and be able to accept that you're not perfect, you're making mistakes, and keep going.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Throughout like even my life, I feel like there's been so many times where there's been something that happened that maybe changed the trajectory of my life. I didn't really completely realize that at the time. And then you look back and you're like, oh, wow, if I didn't make that decision, it wouldn't have been like this.
Yeah.
What about yourself? Is there something like that for you?
Always, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I changed my life so many times. I felt like I lived 10 lives.
Absolutely. Yeah.
From living, I think I lived in like five, six different countries, just
Hmm.
countries alone. And when you
Hmm.
move a country, it's different culture, different value system. It's completely different when you change a business. Again, it's like completely new journey when once you have kids, before you have kids, like all of those big steps that you make requires new you. So now you have to change who you are to adapt to it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always wondered myself, like, do you think that maybe everybody has this calling that they're drawn to, and that's what lead them on this path, or how do you think that works?
Yeah. So again, I believe that because a lot of people are distracted and they can be distracted from a very young age. So they
Yeah.
just don't see the calling. But everybody has something that they feel as a play. I think somebody else told that, maybe Naval Ravikant again, because I love the guy. He
Mm-hmm.
said, if it's play for you and work for others, there's something about that. So try to find something that is play for you
Mm-hmm.
and other people find hard. And I think this is a calling. Like if you really
Mm-hmm.
enjoy doing something, the time passes and you're just uh, enchanted by the process. Then I think you should do more of that. This is a sign that you are moving in the right direction, I believe.
Right. Right. And so that, I mean, that was an incredible story, that the whole thing of from, going from Latvia to where you are now. What's the future looking like for you?
Well, that's a beauty of future. I have no idea. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
it's a hard
r-
thing to think about.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm a dad of two, so my
Right.
future looks like bringing my kids to the world and showing them what's possible and
Right.
guiding them until they can make decisions by themselves.
Mm.
This is very, very important. And also serving. I mean, I find the best times when I serve others, whether it's with business, whether it's with podcast, wherever I do is I like to bring value. I just like to be useful. There's a lot to be said. It's
Mm-hmm.
just I'm there to be useful. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
consistently useful, delivering something and seeing people enjoy it and appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same
In
way
any
on
way it
that.
is.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that was just a beautiful story. If someone would take one thing from your story, what do you hope it would be?
The thing that it changes, but right now, like I had again, I retrospected on many things before, and I found one like I like to find gaps, something that I haven't seen before. And the one thing that I recommend everybody do is to find a mentor, which I haven't done. Like be vulnerable to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say even with the idea of me selling those toys online, like I remember I bought a course how to do it, and I just spent a bunch of money buying those toys, and then it completely flopped, and I
Mm-hmm.
completely did the wrong thing. So if I would just take some of the money invested in this and put it into somebody who would guide me and tell me maybe, you know what, why are you selling toys? Maybe you don't care about toys, you don't have
Mm-hmm.
kids, find something else. Just give you an advice. It's very, very valuable. People underestimate it. We always think we're smarter than we are. We always think things will be easier than it is. It will not take as long as it is. So that's why finding somebody who can guide you through the path can save 10 years of mistakes. So I believe if somebody is
Mm-hmm.
listening, and the advice I would give to my younger self, which is a
Mm-hmm.
different way how to put this question, is just to find a mentor. Pay them, take their time, and just listen. Don't judge, trust them, and do what they say. And I guess many people will be way ahead.
Right. Wow, what an incredible story you had. I mean, thank you just so much for being here and sharing all this with us. This was an incredible podcast, I think.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, I hope I wish you luck in all of your like adventures to come. You have
Thank you very
something,
much.
you have a lot of potential, I think.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Of
appreciate you. I
course.
appreciate your time.
Of course, thank you. Well, that was the third episode of the Existential Lens podcast, and I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye bye.